I'm standing here in the place where I was born 83 years ago, and in Hospital, it was Hospital Street then. It is now a medical centre along this road, all modernised 83 years later, and a stone's throw from the Curragh. This is St. Bridget's Church where I was christened, and I was called Mary Pamela Josephine Kessie, full title. My mother was Christina McGrath from Carlow, and my father was Hubert Kessie, who was from Kildare town. He was a cobbler in the Irish Army and was known to everyone as Hugh. I had 5 siblings, 3 of us born in Kildare and 3 of us in Dublin. William, Noel and myself were born in Kildare. And my other 3, my sister Lillian, Joe and Dominic, were born in Dublin. I started school here in Kildare, which is just round the corner, and I made my first Holy Communion there. Well, actually, I made my communion twice, once in Kildare and once in Dublin. I was greedy. Well, here we are at Roneville, where we moved to from Hospital Street, and we stayed here for a few years, and it was a lovely house. I don't know why we moved, because I wasn't privy to those things then. I was only an infant. We moved from Roneville to Campion Crescent when I was still only an infant, and it's a short distance really, I suppose, as the crow flies into the centre of Kildare town. My dad left the army in 1946 after the emergency, and when they left, work was very scarce on the outside. He got a few bob when he was leaving the army, and with another friend they invested in a turf bog, and they were going to make a fortune, they thought. But they bought a horse and a cart. The work was long and hard, and after collecting turf all summer, and one day they loaded up the cart, and as they moved out of the bog on a narrow path, the cart turned over and fell back into the bog, taking the horse with it. The poor horse had to be shot. They had overloaded the cart and they had lost everything. After the emergency, my dad came to Dublin for work. He got a job in the post office and a flat in 160 in North King Street. After a while, he rejoined the army, and in 1947, my mother, William, Noel and myself moved up to Dublin to join my father in North King Street, right beside Smithfield. I remember the first few days we couldn't get used to the horrible smell of the Liffey, Guinness's Brewery and O'Keefe's Abattoir. This is where the house stood. It's now the Spade Enterprise Centre, and this was the type of house we lived in. But the old church and school, which was next door to us, still stands there. I started school in George's Hill Presentation Convent because I had attended the Presentation Convent in County Kildare. And as the class I started in was making their communion, rather than leave me out, they included me, and that's how I made my communion twice. In 1950 was the start of a new life for me and my family. Great excitement floated around our home as we had been allocated a new house in a place called Ballyfermot. Not a room, but yes, a real house, and we were going out to see it. The whole family were going, so it would be a big adventure for my 2 brothers, sister and myself. As we walked down along by the sinking Liffey, and I saw a Guinness tugboat full of barrels of Guinness going down the Liffey to the docks. We went over Kingsbridge and past the station, which is now Houston Station. Then on past Stevens's Hospital, down along St John's Road. Into those days the road wasn't like it is today. We turned into Kilmainham and up past Rowntree's factory and Kilmainham Jail and on into Inchicore, past the model schools and Cleary's public house on the other side, down under the railway bridge up to the ranch, and then the houses appeared. Row upon row of houses, all looking the same, with little changes here and there. This was Ballyfermot. We turned onto Lally Road and then left onto Deasy's Road. We passed a few shops. A store yard for the builder's equipment and a shed for the paint and dry goods. Watching the house numbers as we went along, we came to our house, number 96. It was a 2-storey, 3-bedroom, sitting room, bathroom, scullery and toilet, and a front and back garden, all of which was for our family only. We as children ran wild upstairs, in and out of the bedrooms, out the back garden. Everybody wanted to use the toilet, as it was a novelty having a toilet of our own. Our parents discussed the real issues of which we as children were unaware of. And with building work still going on all around us, more houses, some with only foundations started, others partially built, but we didn't care. It was freedom and fresh air. And so, after a few delightful hours, we returned to the tenement which had been our home for a few years. Next was the tenancy agreement that had to be signed, and then the big move. We were lucky as our dad was in the army and could get transport for our few bits and pieces. We moved in around June 1950, and so began an adventure that none of us could contemplate or know what paths any of us would take. As children, we were not aware of any future. Our time was spent in the here and now, and any adventures we might take seemed years away. We were kept busy investigating our new and strange surroundings that the building sites can create. Mam called our new house after Maria Goretti, a young girl elevated to the sainthood in June of that year. The inner heart of our community was developed and created by our wonderful parents, whose love and care helped to create our zest for life. Care and kindness for others, and the self-belief in your own ability that you could be whatever you wanted to be. Well, it was very important to be self-sufficient when we came out to Ballyfermot, because there was no shops nearby, so we had to do what we could to provide. So my father at the time, we dug the back garden, cultivated it and sold vegetables, and he also made a hen run, and we had a few chickens and eggs. And the future was way into the future, and no thought was given to tomorrow. We were only interested in investigating our new and strange surroundings and many building sites around us. There was no rancid smells of the Liffey, Guinness brewery, the vile toilets in the tenements, or the distinct smell of O'Keefe's skin and hide merchants, particularly in the hot weather. The Liffey was in a bad state, nothing but rubbish of all kinds thrown into it, rotting. And when the tide went out, dear God, it was terrible. And those were the memories I have of inner city Dublin.
How are you, Pam?
I'm grand.
It's
Thank
great
you.
to be here with you today. I've been following your journey and I'm up to 1950. So can you tell me when you settled in your house on Deasy's Road, how was that for you? What was it like?
Well, it was wonderful because we'd been in town in a tenement for, I think it was 2 years-ish, and it was dreadful. So when we got the house, it was like the wilderness. It was brilliant, wild, crazy, and we were wild and crazy too.
Good.
I had 3 brothers and 1 sister. And honest to God, we were mad as hatters, we were.
Had a great time.
Oh, we had a great time in and out through the buildings that was going on all around us. And we were able to go to the Phoenix Park and collect branches off the trees for my mother for the fire.
Wow.
And it was great. Now, I have to say, we had a very good childhood. A caring family, and we were all in it together, and it was great.
Brilliant. And tell me, you continued then to travel into school, into
Yes.
North King Street.
Well, there was no schools here when we came to Ballyfermot, and they were bussing people into Whitefriars Street and somewhere else, I can't remember where it was. But I had went to the Presentation Convent in Kildare, and when we came to Dublin, I went to the Presentation in George's Hill, and it was in by the fruit and vegetable market. We had to go. So when I was in town, it was easy to get to the school, but when we got out here, I had to get the bus, and I hated the buses. So
Really?
I used to, in the fine weather, I used to use my skates, and I'd skate to school and skate home.
Brilliant.
Every day.
So you were fairly fit.
Yeah.
And tell me, what were you like as a teenager? Had you many friends?
I'd like to think I had, yes. We had lots of friends. We made lots of friends, local, their neighbours' children and that. And only recently I was talking to one of them that I hadn't seen in years and years. But they're great, you know, there was great neighbours and great kids. And there was no real badness about them. There was mischief, yes, like knocking on doors and running away and all that sort of stuff. Knick-knacks, yeah. We'd be battered for doing it if we were caught. By any parent, that time, any other parent, if you'd done mischief on them, they could hit you and get away with it, you know. But now they didn't batter you, they gave you a clout and sent you home, you got another clout then for doing it. Yeah.
And tell me, Pam, when did you start working?
When I was 15, I left school at 15, and that time when you got to that age, done my primary, you had to pay for secondary school at that time, and we didn't have that kind of money, so it was out to work you went, and I got a job in Harley's, and I stayed in Harley's till I got married.
Wow. And tell me, how about boyfriends? When did you start going out with boys? Or?
Well, I met the one boyfriend when he was playing handball against one of the shop walls, and I stole the ball on him. And that was it. So from then on, we were together. Now, we were together as pals for a few years, and then he joined the army, and I said I wasn't going to go with a soldier as well. My dad was a soldier, and I wasn't going to go with a soldier. So he went off anyway to train in the army, and then when he was finished training, he came back out and came up, and from there on, it's history.
Oh.
And that's it.
And this is Peter we're talking about.
Yeah.
And when did you get engaged then? How old were you when you got engaged?
16 and a half, 17 when we got engaged. Yeah. Got engaged on Whit Sunday, and we went to the Isle of Man to celebrate for a day trip.
Day trip. Did you get the boat over?
Yes, yeah, oh yes, yeah. Yeah.
And then how long before you got married then to Peter?
3 years, and we got married when I was 20. And Well, I'm stuck now.
You're grand.
Yeah, when I was 20, Peter was 22, and we got married, and got married the 18th of April 1960.
Wow.
It was an Easter Monday, and we got married in the big church down the Assumption.
Oh.
And Father Heffernan was supposed to marry us, but Canon Try wanted the 10 o'clock mass and he wouldn't change it. So he married us in the end, much to our disappointment.
Sheer disappointment, I'd say. He was a hard man.
Yeah. Oh, what he said went.
Yeah.
He thought he was the big boss.
And tell me, Pam, when you got married, where did you live?
We got a room in a place off Francis Street, and it was one room. Now it was awful. Well, I thought it was awful, but it did for the time being, you know. And then we were there for about 8-9 months, and then we got I got a job in Dr. O'Rourke's surgery over Hurley's at Grange Cross, answering the phone at night time. So a flat went with the job. So we moved up there and we lived there for, I think it was about 2 years. I can't really remember now the exact length of time. But we were there then, and then Hurley's opened a new shop down on Lower Deasy's Road. And there was a whole big flat there, and we got that, and we lived there for around, I think it was around 12 years, 13 years, I'm not sure. And then we got the house up Blackditch Road.
Just tell me now about the job in Hurley's. You were answering the phone. Were you doing that through the night?
No, that was in overhead, the Dr. O'Rourke's, yes, through the night, yeah. The phone rang for, that time doctors did call-outs. They went out themselves to their patients. And if any of them was in trouble during the night, they rang the surgery, and you'd have to convey the message to wherever they lived and send them to whatever address the patient lived at. So that was kind of, some nights could be busier than others, but now, you know, in the main it wasn't that bad, really. Okay. It was okay.
And tell me, how many children do you have, Pam?
6 children, 3 boys and 3 girls. And Stephen is the eldest, and then Martina, and then Padder, then Vincent, then Melissa, and then Melinda.
Oh.
And
So
they're all
6.
1 year after the other.
The holy. So 6 children. And do you have any grandchildren?
Yes, 16
Wow.
grandchildren. And unfortunately 2 of them have died. They died as infants. And the rest of them are doing fine. Lots of them married now and are in love and romance in the stone, like the fella says.
Very good. Any great grandchildren?
Yes, 5 at the moment and another one on the way.
Oh
so,
my God.
Yeah, so they're all busy.
So plenty to keep you going.
Ah yes, you enjoy them.
Tell me, when did you move to the house here in Blackditch?
1972 we got the keys, and Peter and I came up. We didn't get the keys. We were told we were getting it, and we had to go up and look at it and see. So we came up anyway from Deasy's Road and had a look. And I stood outside the gate crying my eyes out. And the woman next door happened to be at the door with her neighbour, and she said, "Are you disappointed?" I said, "No, crying with joy." I said, It was brilliant. I said, so yeah, I'm waiting on the house for years. And that was it, yeah. We came in, and I think it was in June, or July, we got the house. It was June or July, I was wanting to find it anyway. And from there on in, sure, we were delighted with ourselves. And the kids, the grass out the back was, after growing real high, that time the corporation, as it was then,
they didn't do up your house before you got it. If it was already occupied and emptied, they just, as it was, you went into it and you did your own cleaning up and painting and whatever. So we went in and the kids thought they were in the jungle. The grass was that long out the back. They thought it was brilliant to have a back garden, you know. And they used to do the Olympics and all out there. Oh, they had great fun, yeah. We had terrific. And then the park, of course, was across the road. So they were able to go over there. At the time, there was swings and roundabouts in the park, and it was lovely, and the kids could go over to them. Some of them eventually got broken, as usual, but other than that, it was great, you know. So that was our life, Blackditch Road. And from there, it's history, says the fella.
A lifetime of happy memories here.
Surely, yes, definitely, yeah, definitely we had. We had some sad memories too and all that, but we had great times. I have to say most of it was happy and enjoyable.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. We had rows, like all families have rows.
Of course.
He's looking at me, no he's not, yes he is. Yeah. So.
Brilliant.
And the lads are all working, thank God, all worked, and the girls have worked, they're all done well, and I'm very proud of them, as their father was as well.
And Pam, what made you get involved in voluntary and community work?
Well, when we moved out to Ballyfermot, there wasn't much, and we used to go down to the hut down on a Hogan Road. It was a youth club after that, but at the time it was used as a church. It was the painter's hut from the builders. When they finished, they gave it to the church, and they used to do the Sunday Mass and that in it. And then they also realised that a lot of people who hadn't got much money at the time would be in need of subsidies for food and bits, so they opened a kitchen to feed the pregnant mothers, you know, and that's when the soup kitchens and such started up. So it was great though for young people. Kids would go in and buy. Girl cake was a great stay in it at one stage. A lot of them used to enjoy it, going in for that. But no, it was. And you helped out then you got involved in the non-stop draw for the church, collecting £1 a week it was for the non-stop draw for the church, to build a new church, and then the schools. And then when the schools were built, I got involved with the Benildes used to show pictures in the back of the Dealer Hall, the Benildes Hall. And there was an usherette in there. An usherette, now it wasn't the height of a shilling, but sure, how never. But it was great. It was a great learning exercise for me. But I was always willing to help out doing stuff. Okay. And then when I got married and the kids were involved, the kids were growing up, there was nothing really out here for anyone. There was Gaelic football, and if you didn't play Gaelic football, you weren't allowed to touch the parks hardly, because the clergy thought that only Gaelic football was the thing. And I thought, well, I'll get involved with something and see what happened. So I went to sports meetings, and from there then everything evolved. I got one thing borrowed another, and before I knew it I was involved with everything.
Brilliant.
So.
And tell me, over the years you've been on a few protests.
Yes. Anything that we got in Ballyfermot, really in the beginning, you had to protest for, seriously. Traffic lights. We often sat blocking the roads, trying to emphasise the need for traffic lights. And we'd sit down on the road, and the guards at the time used to come along and they'd be lifting you off the road to clear the traffic, to let the traffic through. But no, and it was all done, they weren't like the ugly protests you see today. They were done quietly and dignified,
Peaceful.
and they respected those who were in charge of whatever, like the police. We never kicked, spat or fought with the police. We just let them do their job, even if it was lifting you off the road to put you on the path. But that was it. But we were never disrespectful in that regard. So those sort of strife, then for that. We protested for the new swimming pool. We went the worst night of the year, February, in outside the City Hall. We sat and protested all night, and there was loads of people, young people, Mary Farrell, David Conley, Jerry McCarthy, I think Marion, they were only young then, they weren't married then. And all those people were in there, and it snowed, it was dreadful. And you know, City Hall's on the hill, and we were in sleeping bags out on the road. And the river of snow running when it thawed out, but it was very cold. But those sorts of things, we did that for the swimming pool. We did it for the traffic lights. We did it for, what else was there? Oh gosh. We got a new, we looked for a better swimming pool than we got. Then we got the complex down in Gortine. That we fought for that and got it. And then we started up a sports federation to allow allocation of the football pitches in the park for to be equal out to every club
Everybody.
in Ballyfermot. That there was no distinction. Okay, the Gaelic had their own pitches, but the rest of the parks was being allocated for soccer and anything else that other people want, camogie, whatever, you know, there was all sorts going. So it was very good, the Sports Federation, when it was going. But you see, people get tired of doing the same old things, and some people think then they should be paid. I never was paid for anything I did. It was all voluntary. And lots of other people with me were all voluntary. But some people felt they should be paid, and they went off and done their own thing. Fair play to them, that's what they wanted. But no one will ever own me.
So
It's as
anything
simple as
really
that.
you had a passion for, you went and
Yeah.
advocated, protested, and mainly got services in place in Ballyfermot.
We did the new civic centre before that. I mean, we maintained the one over there, we ran discos over there, all sorts of things, you know, we were very active. And then drugs hit Ballyfermot, I got very involved with that. Heartbreaking though it was dreadful, that happened. My family was very lucky, I have to say. There before the grace of God, like everybody else. But some poor parents, not all parents are at fault for drug addicts.
No, absolutely not.
They didn't send them out to take drugs, and I tell you, it destroyed many, many families, and it was terrible. So I was on that committee for 13 years. I was on the management committee of the tech for 8 years, I think. I was on we fought and got the College of Further Education below. I was on the committee for that for years as well. We fought tooth and nail to get the clergy. That was great battle. But they were very good now, I have to say. And everyone was respectful to each other. I had rows, but if I walked away from the table after a row, I spoke to you after that.
Yeah.
We didn't end up not talking to each other, and we respected each other's principles and ideas. And now we would say terrible things around the table to each other, but that's the way it went.
But no hard feelings.
No.
So you've been on many boards of managements and in the parish, and you're still working on several boards and projects in the area.
Not as much as I was, I have to say. I'm running out of energy for all these now. And yes, I'm still involved. I'm involved with the police forum, and hopefully we can achieve the aims that we were set up to work towards.
Tell me, you celebrated a big wedding anniversary. How many years was that?
50. We were 50 years. Actually, we celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary, and then Peter died 4.5 years after that. So we were on our way to 60 years of marriage.
Oh.
And we had a good marriage and a good life. Now we had our rows, we weren't perfect, but we had great fun making up.
Just goes to show you're human like the rest of us, Pam.
Yeah.
And tell me, when did you lose Peter? What year did you lose
2014, in November 2014. The worst day of our lives, but for me anyway.
Devastation.
Yes, definitely, yeah. And I miss him dreadfully every day today, so that's it. But I've happy memories, and that I have to say I'm grateful for.
That's what we have to hold on to, isn't it?
Well, it keeps
happy
me
times.
going, yeah, surely. And the children keep me going. They're very good to me and always have been. I'm very supportive.
And tell me, Pat, can you talk to me about the tribute garden that was erected over there in the People's Park near the Civic Centre?
Well, I used to get fed up listening to people and the media of all sorts, papers and television, etc., all running down Ballyfermot, no one works, idles this, and always bad reports. And I said, no one gives anybody the thought that people in Ballyfermot worked bloody hard for a living. And I thought, well, we could start looking at the services that's provided all over and see what they have contributed. And lots of people from Ballyfermot are in the services. And the ones that we did at the top, I got a few people that I knew in the different services and asked them were they interested in coming on a group to see what we could do. And they were all interested, I have to say, and they did come on board. And within 8 months we had a plan and ready to go, and all we needed was the funds and stuff. So we worked hard and we got the funds, and that's it. It's there today, and I'm proud. It's there dedicated to the people of Ballyfermot and not to outside influences, just sheer work and respect for themselves and each other in Ballyfermot. That's all I wanted.
And you initiated that project yourself?
Yes,
and
I
worked
did.
hard to get people around the table?
I did,
What a legacy.
yeah.
I mean,
Well,
brilliant.
I think, you see things, and I get very angry when I hear and see bad press. Because everyone isn't. There are devils, I know, in Ballyfermot. But dear God, there are so many great, wonderful, hard-working people who mightn't have much, but they have each other and they have respect for each other. And we're not all demons.
No.
That's the way I look at it.
And there's a lot of unsung heroes around Ballyfermot that have done an awful lot of work down through the years as well.
Lots of them, yes, and lots that don't even get recognised for it, and that's the sad thing, but that's the way it goes.
Well, tell me, what next for Pam O'Reilly?
I suppose the crematorium.
Well, I hope not.
Well, I don't know. Maybe if something comes up, an idea comes up, maybe I'd get involved again and doing something. But at the moment, I'm happy doing what I do. I took up art in the bungalow, and I'm trying to learn to be an artist, but I work on that as well. So.
Well, Pam, on behalf of the Ballyfermot Heritage and the people of Ballyfermot, we would just like to thank you for all the hard work down through the years, the dedication to, you fought for what you believed in, and you really made Ballyfermot a better place for people.
Well, I hope I did, and I hope my contribution was helpful to some people, maybe more than others, and I'm very proud of what we've all achieved, and I didn't achieve it on my own, because we went out and we got people who worked hard with me, and they were all brilliant people. I mean, you have Mrs. Robinson, who we were looking for the water pressure.
Irish Robinson,
The Irish Robinson, yeah. The water pressure. She went down to the Liffey and down the steps of in town, and we had her tied to a rope.
That's great.
And she washed her clothes in the Liffey just to make a point that there's no water in Blackditch Road, that sort of thing, you know. And this is it. So there's loads of others. There's Tony Montaigne worked hard for the football, and I could go on and on for, you know, and they're all unsung heroes. And it's sad that they're not even listed somewhere. That's where I'd like to see all those who.
Maybe that'll be your next project, Pam.
Well,
Could
at
write
the moment
these down
I'm
in your little
hoping,
memoirs.
yes, I'm hoping to do
Yeah.
something similar at the minute.
Because you have a lot of knowledge about, you know, people that, as I say, unsung heroes that were very active.
Yes,
in the
very, yeah.
community.
I mean, they were all on the council and the BCA and everything, anything that was going, we all got on different committees, but we had great fun doing it, you know.
Yeah.
Great arguments and great fun.
And great friends.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, Pam, well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
On the street,